Hey, Jeff. Before you start, I just want to clear the air about some BS rumor that came out. I don't know if the person who made this article is in this circle, but the rumor about me wanting to get traded is definitely false. I said that I was frustrated with losing, not frustrated with the team. So if the words didn't come from my mouth, I appreciate it if you're not write a dumbass article like that. I want to stay here. I love the team. I love, the surroundings, the environment, the fans. I love being here.
I assume you want to be part of turning this thing back around and being one of those guys that help turn this thing around.
If I didn't, I wouldn't have signed the contract to come back in. So, I'm happy where I'm at. Happy with the coach, the management, front office, everybody. Haven't been happy like this in years, so it's a good place for me.
We're back. We just heard from Jeff Green. It's a pretty fascinating post-game press conference, talking about a dumbass article that after kind of talking to him a little bit after, a couple of reporters we were talking to him, kind of made him understand that it was actually a CBS Sports blog post. It was a national blog that kind of slightly mischaracterized what he said. It didn't even necessarily say that he was asking for a trade. He said that someone had texted him or tweeted him that he was requesting a trade. So it was a very interesting misunderstanding by Jeff Green after the game. It shows that you probably want to make sure you do all your homework before coming out and making a public statement.
Well, it's not like this is totally new with Green or a team like this. This is a team, we saw it last year, they didn't really make any moves during the season, major moves anyway, but this is a team that's going to be involved in rumors. The Celtics don't have the core ready that they're going to use to fight for a championship, and they have to use trades and whatever means to get it in place. And Jeff Green's obviously been mentioned in trades over the past couple of years, and he's someone, I don't have any inside sources, but, from what you've read, that Danny Ainge would like to unload, even though he says, he doesn't want to. And Green is a good guy, probably best suited off the bench, but he's certainly, certainly a good scorer. And that's how you're going to react to things like that. I mean, you can't come out and say, yes, I want to be traded, because that just, that throws a dart right into the middle of it.
He probably doesn't want to actually be traded. He'd probably be happier in a playoff contending situation, one where he doesn't have to have the pressure of being one of the go-to scorers. I think he'd be great if he was still in Oklahoma City. Yeah. That would be ideal for him if he was still there.
Especially with Harden out there anymore.
Exactly. But what was funny about this is that it spawned a bunch of other reports afterwards, one of which was a report saying that Jeff Green's value in the free agent market, according to other GMs, is apparently higher than Rajon Rondo's. And now that article was sourcing actual GMs saying that, or at least executives, so that had a lot more that actually had legitimacy to it. And it's a funny discussion because if you think about it, while Rondo is probably a better player, I don't think anyone would really disagree with that. He's probably a significantly better player. His value to another team might actually be lower to Jeff Green, because if a team wants to add Jeff Green for, let's say, $10 million, I mean, he's making $9.5, $10 million right now, and he's been playing maybe a little bit below what he was expected of, but what you look at kind of the increase in the cap, $10 million isn't really that much money anymore. It's less than what Alec Burks just got, and as nice of a prospect as Alec Burks is, Jeff Green's definitely a better player at this point. Now, Jeff Green, to a contending team who can afford that, it's a lot more valuable to them than getting Rondo, who they kind of have to rework how their system is built. Mm-hmm. They might be able to plug in Jeff Green right there. A team like Houston, for instance, although now they have Trevor Ariza, they don't need him, but that was kind of a possible target for a while, was an idea of an Ariza for Asik swap. But it's funny how this kind of misrumor has catapulted into a legitimate rumor that Green actually might be more valuable in the market. I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, well, you look around the league, and there are a lot of very good starting point guards. Mm-hmm. And when we go through all this Rondo trade rumor stuff, you break it down, you break down other teams' rosters, there aren't that many possible destinations for him out there. And you come back to a guy like Jeff Green, as you said, he is easier to plug in. As far as a mid-season trade, I probably don't see it happening, because it's, especially for a contender, it is hard to make that $9.5 million fit unless you have, some expiring deals to work. So it's probably unlikely. But yeah, I can see where that report is coming from. I mean, I agree. Rondo is the better player. I think he's the best pure passing point guard in the NBA. I still say Chris Paul is the best point guard. But Jeff Green would help anybody. I don't think there's an argument with that.
Well, I want to talk about Rondo's passing. So Rondo has changed the way that he passes the ball this year. It used to be that he would kind of keep his head down. He'd be kind of driving in circles, waiting for a lane to open up. Now he's kind of driving, then sitting back a little bit, and then trying to whip in passes, usually with his right, sometimes his left hand. And they're a lot less safe passes, but they can be more effective passes.
He lets things develop a little bit too, yeah.
So do you think Rondo should be sitting back the way he is, or should he be attacking more like he used to?
I think there's a balance in that because, you know, ultimately your job as a point guard is to get the ball moving and to distribute and find those scoring chances. I think he should lean more towards that like he has been. The offense has to get moving. You can't be stagnant. You can't have guys just standing around, and Brad Stevens has done a good job of trying to get that to happen. There are situations definitely where it calls for Rondo to attack, and you know certain matchups will dictate that. But I think for a good point guard and a guy like that, it's a balance. I mean, he's not a guy that the ball can't, you know, as a lot of people would say with Carmelo, the ball just kind of dies, you know, when it gets to him. With Rondo, the ball can't really die, especially with the shot clock going down, because you know the rumor, or you know, everyone says Rondo's a bad shooter. He's not a bad shooter, but he's not someone that you want to look to, you know, take a lot of shots in a game. So he's not someone you want to just leave out there to die as the shot clock goes, and then you have to take a bad shot.
Well, the Rondo is a bad shooter mantra is probably a little bit outdated at this point. The last couple of years, he's improved statistically and form-wise. I mean, he passes the test on both levels. He's not a go-to shooter by any means yet, but he can make the shot when it's given to him, and he's even taking that shot in rhythm with the defender on him. So, all right, let's go to boxing out. I want to hear your stat of the night tonight. There's not a lot of good stats on the Celtics side.
Yeah, we had to go digging for this. It's not a good one for the Celtics, but 5 of 23 from three-point range. The Celtics, we've seen this year, they can be very over-reliant on that three-point shot. You had the stat, or you mentioned earlier that the final whatever minutes they didn't take a shot from inside the three-point arc.
The last 3 minutes. Coincidentally, only threes in the last 3 minutes, yeah.
Exactly, and you just can't do that. It's good to have the three, and it is good to have everyone capable of shooting the three to spread the floor, create spacing, but the Celtics can get way too over-reliant on that three-point shot, and like tonight, it'll often kill them.
And for me, I'm actually going to have a silver lining here. It's the fast break points, which I mentioned earlier. They actually had a 15-4 advantage on the fast break, showing that not only could they get out on the break, but their defense, which was a major, major problem, according to Stevens, actually was effective tonight for the first time in a while. So I try to find a silver lining. Every once in a while, I'm generally cynical, but
that's no fun.
I have to. But I will give my player of the game to Chris Kaman, because this guy was really consistent throughout the game. He had 8 points in each half. He had 8 rebounds. He was shooting the ball well. He had 16 points in only 18 minutes, which is great. But I think initially the Celtics were able to neutralize him, but eventually he was going to work. And every single time that, I felt like every time that the Blazers lost momentum, he would kind of go to work on the low block and he would get a nice basket. I love the way he played. It was a lot of vintage Kaman tonight.
Yeah, Chris Kaman is like, what, the best center in Lakers history, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, who forgets?
I mean, Wilt, Shaq, forget those guys. Kareem, yeah. So who's your player of the night?
I'm going with co-players of the night tonight. Two guys who LaMarcus Aldridge post-game talked very highly about. Nicholas Batum, 12 points, and also Robin Lopez, he had 10 points, 7 boards. Batum, when the Celtics got off to a pretty hot start there, Batum scored about 8 straight points to really reel Portland back into the game, and Lopez was there getting boards, and he was getting tip backs, and they were two guys that really did a good job of helping keep Portland in the game until they got a lot hotter in the end, with Damian Lillard struggling all night for the most part, only scoring 12 points. They needed that. They needed more than just the usual Aldridge and Lillard domination, and they got that from them. And
Aldridge missed a lot of shots, actually, in this game, especially early on in the game.
7 for 21 finished, yeah.
But his back-to-the-basket game is so phenomenal, and it showed. And eventually...
No one could do anything about it either. You just look at him on Sullinger, on anybody. It's boys against men.
Well, the funny thing was, earlier in the game, Sullinger was trying to man him up, and he would just back Sullinger down until Sullinger was underneath the rim and he'd just pop up a little hook. Yeah. So Stevens subs out Sullinger, puts in Bass. Bass is able to actually hold off Aldridge. Aldridge has to take like an 8-foot jump hook, swish, easy. So
and when he's adding this mid-range game too, it's like Blake Griffin. You add that, what do you do?
No.
You don't do anything.
That's why Steven said he's one of the best power forwards in the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to end it here. I want to thank Gethin, thank myself. I think I did a good job tonight.
You did a great job.
Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Facebook, or you can follow me on Twitter, follow Gethin on Twitter. Pretty easy. We got the Twitter handles below us here. Like the Garden Report on Facebook, subscribe on iTunes to the podcast version, and leave your comment below. We'll see you next time. We'll be back. We're going to take Friday off to be with our families for Thanksgiving, because I'll ironically be in Chicago while the Bulls are actually in town, so that'll be fun. And
the
then,
hometown perspective.
exactly, we'll be back for San Antonio. That's a 1 o'clock game a week from Sunday. So we'll see you then. This is the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog. We're out of here.